What's up, everybody? Welcome to UFC Round-Up. I'm Paul Felder. He's Michael Chiesa. UFC 276 is in the all right. Yeah, all right. Let's get a little flex on before we go here. Get a little,
Those puppies. Those puppies.
Anyway, we got a lot to talk about, Michael. We can flex after the show when we're just talking to ourselves. This is what we generally do afterwards for about 5 minutes. Just get a good flex on, show what we've been working on bodybuilding wise. But 276, ups, downs, a lot of drama, retirements, main event, some controversy, whether people thought it was enough. Did Izzy, is he not going for it anymore? He's the champion. Let's talk about that. Let's start off Israel Adesanya, Jared Cannonier. Now, he's the champion. It's Cannonier that's coming for his belt. It wasn't the most exciting fight, but is that okay? And when is it okay? What do you think, Mike? What are your thoughts on the main event? You were there, correct?
Yeah, I was in attendance.
A different perspective on it than I did, who was sitting at home watching it on TV.
Well, first and foremost, before I get into talking about Israel and his performance, I got to talk about Jared. Jared did exactly what I thought he would do. I thought that he would have the stones to really pursue the champ, much in the way that we thought Paulo Costa would. And he did everything he could to try to corral the champion, find those opportunities to land those big power punches, land those powerful leg kicks. And in Israel, just it's now as I transition into talking about the champion, I feel like we're getting into Mayweather territory when it comes to Israel Adesanya. And it's not just with how dominant he is, but it's this is a guy that he can win fights defensively. He can go out there and maybe not have as much output as the guys that he's fighting, but can win with his defense. Now, he had a really good quote that I wrote down here that I wanted to say on the show. And he said, "On my worst night, I still feel like I'm the best in the world. On my worst night, I'm still the best in the world." It's like, with that being said, is the champion telling us that maybe he didn't feel like he was the best version of himself that night? You never know when it comes to Israel Adesanya. He says very cryptic things that you don't know if the context tells the story or if there's some type of underlying reason. So when I saw that quote, I'm thinking maybe he wasn't having as good as a night as he normally does. But at the end of the day, it's to me, it's not his job to have to go out there and bring the fight to the contenders. It's the contenders that have to bring the fight to him, especially when you talk about a guy in Israel where you look at the way that he fights, you look at his style. It's a smooth, methodical kickboxing style with a very high amount of technical aspects to it. So it's up to the challengers to bring the fight to Israel and take the chances. It's not Israel's job to go out there and take the risks and put himself in danger. If you can go out there and hit the least amount of times possible in a fight, that's what you're going to do. That's what I'm going to do. That's what you want to do. But as somebody that likes to view these fights from a fan standpoint, because I am a fan, that's not what I always want to see.
Yeah, I agree. I agree about that. It's Jared Cannonier's job. That's his job to go and try to get after him. If Izzy can win, being elusive, landing jabs, landing his kicks, being the tall, rangy fighter that he is, he's going to do that, especially when you've defended your belt. You've had that belt for so long. You've kind of seen a lot of different versions of contenders coming at you. You just want to keep that belt. You want to keep that belt. You want to keep making that money. You want to keep that status. Not every single one of these title defenses can be an absolute all-out barn burner. First of all, if you want to have a long career, that Izzy seems to want to do. He seems to want to be a champion for a while, and then in the future, maybe even move up a division again and take another crack at that double champ status. But for right now, he just wants to reign through this division. And in order to do that, you can't have a Kelvin Gastelum fight like he had every single time out, or you just won't be there long enough to still be the champion. So was it the most rip-roaring, slobber knocker crazy of a fight? No, but they don't always have to be, guys. And that's why there's a card that has multiple fights on it from all different divisions, because there were exciting fights. The main event is not always going to live up to it. Yeah, it wasn't the craziest thing, but Izzy's still the champ. And if you want to go and get it from him, you've got to take huge risks. And sometimes you just can't do that. It's not that Cannonier wasn't trying. Izzy's also that good that if he just wants to sit back and land on you, sometimes he's not going to be able to put you away, but he's going to be able to win, and he's going to be able to look good doing it. And I also think I also think that walkout is why people are giving him a lot of ish, because
Yeah.
he had the urn, he had the Undertaker theme coming out. I'm good, here's your ashes in this thing, and it's like, yeah, and then it wasn't all that exciting. So that's
No,
why people give him
and
crap.
in here, the other thing too, Paul, is the heat always goes to the champ. Like when a fight like this takes place,
Yeah.
very reminiscent of some of the fights that Anderson Silva had in the past. When he fought Damian Maia, when he fought Talis Latis, when he fought Patrick Cote, fights that weren't that exciting. Nobody talked about what the challenger didn't do. It was all about what the champion didn't do. So in this instance, it's like we can't put all the heat onto Israel. Jared did try, but it's on him that he wasn't able to bring out this exciting fight that we all hoped that we would see from Israel Adesanya and Jared. But going forward, it's time to look ahead. It's time to look ahead to see who could possibly be the next guy to fight Israel Adesanya, who could be the guy to possibly bring the dog in him out. So, Paul, I think the answer is pretty obvious, but I want to hear your take on it. Who do you think should be next for Israel Adesanya?
Pereira, I mean, that's who's got to be it. I mean, he's beaten him twice in kickboxing, and then he goes out and does what he did against Sean Strickland, and with that left hook, that's who he's got to fight. And for Cannonier, I think any of these contenders, there's lots of matchups that probably aren't booked yet. Like who's Marvin Vettori fighting? Where's Marvin at in the mix?
I think Marvin has Robert Whittaker next. What I would like to see,
that's right.
What I would like to see for Cannonier, I would like to see him fight the winner of Luke Rockhold and Paulo Costa.
Oh, that's yes. Yeah.
Because if Luke can get past Costa, Luke's fighting Costa. So I think that
when is that?
That is August 20th in Utah.
Okay.
Utah.
Right.
Give me two. Give me two. And what I want for the champion, well, I got to say it, and I'm sure I'm going to say a ton about it here down the line on the show. It's got to be Alex Pereira. But I'm saving my substance for when we get to talk that fight.
Yeah, that exactly. Yeah, let's just talk about it now. We'll get back to the co-main event. We got a lot of things.
Yeah, let's just do it. Let's just go now. Yeah, throw a wrench.
Bro, I want to say something real quick. I was actually just scrolling through Twitter, and now I don't know how much truth there is to this too, but it said that he weighed in obviously at 284 or 285, and that by the time he got into that octagon, he was 184, and then was 219 on fight night.
Oh yeah, I have that written down right here. And I have heard stories from people that this guy is notoriously a big weight cutter. Like this guy cuts a lot of weight. I mean, he is 6'4", but you just see him. I mean, you see him even at the weigh-ins, or see him at like the press conference next to Sean, and Sean's got kind of a barrel chest himself.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that he must be really dense. I think that guy, and when you that fight alone, here's the one thing I got to say. Rarely do the MMA gods let the UFC's plans go like they want them to. Perfect
we talked about that.
You have Kayla Harrison in attendance. Well, Juliana Pena is fighting Amanda Nunes. I'm sure we all know why she was there and what she was there for. And this is almost the same instance where it's like you got a guy in Alex Pereira. He's got 2 fights under his belt in the UFC. This was his 3rd fight, correct, Paul?
Yes.
So you got him 2 fights in the UFC. And while he is a well-rounded mixed martial artist, this is the best possible matchup for him to get to a title fight. You look at the wrestlers in the division. You look at the other talent. It's like, what's the best way to get him to Israel Adesanya? It's not the easiest fight, but it's the most favorable one. And you put in Sean Strickland, the number one. And not to mention, you want to know how much risk the UFC is taking? Sean Strickland is the biggest liability for the company when he gets on the microphone. You just don't know what he's going to say. So I'm thinking to myself, like, if the MMA gods start dropping lightning bolts on the UFC's plans and just burn it down, like Sean Strickland in a title fight with Israel Adesanya would be like, oh man, I don't think it would not be a good thing. But look, it all worked out because he went out there, got a devastating first round knock, and now we're going to see one of the biggest fights in history.
And Izzy won, even though Drake had FaceTimed him. Usually that's the kiss of death.
The Drake curse is over.
It's over, right? Didn't he bet on?
It has to be.
It has to be. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he bet on in the Warriors, I think, and he called Izzy. So that's all over with now. But I saw that I was like, oh no. And then obviously the way that they're setting everything up, just like we talked about last week, we saw that there is potential disasters written all over this as far as, and again, to the fans out there, we're not saying that the UFC is planning these things. You can't plan how a fist fight's going to come, but you can
No.
have wishful thinking, right? Obviously,
Yes.
they want to set up awesomeness, right? That's all they're setting up. It's up to the fighters to take that and you know make it happen. But obviously, they wanted one of these guys to go on and win. Crazy old Sean, who you don't know, or Pieta, who's already fought him. That's obviously the slightly more favorable matchup
Oh,
as
dude,
far
you
as
could
selling
see,
this.
dude, you could see Izzy at the press conference. The second Sean started talking, he was like it's like he was sinking in his chair. Like, not that he's scared of him, but just like, oh my God, here it comes. Like, you just know
You're
Sean's
about to
sitting right
cancel
behind you at the
yourself.
press conference. He's gonna start laying on heavy fire. And he did. And it's yeah, that's there's a lot to take in with Sean Strickland.
Yeah.
There's a lot to take in.
Yeah. But that's great. I mean, that left hook, dude, he just throws it out there. It almost looks like it's going to be a jab, and he just turns it over, and he's so damn long, so rangy. I'm curious to see. Obviously, we can go and watch their kickboxing matches.
Yeah.
But it's not the same. It's MMA, and it's different. But Izzy keeps talking about, oh, those 16-ounce gloves. These are 4-ounce gloves. I'm like,
yeah, we know.
Yeah,
and it plays
they are.
both ways.
Both ways.
Both ways.
Yeah. And that
Dude,
left hook, man. Whew.
Well, the way he set it up too. The biggest, let me tell you, the fans something at home. Okay. Listen, I'm not the most polished striker in the world, but I know a shit ton about mixed martial arts. Excuse my language. The jab to the body is the biggest Trojan horse when it comes to striking techniques. And Sean fell for it. He literally kept poking Sean in the body with the jab, which is not going to hurt you, but it got Sean to drop that hand just enough for him to pump that jab and come over with that left hook. I mean, you want to talk about high-level precision kickboxing, and you just salivate at the idea of these guys fighting in 4-ounce gloves, as you said, Paul. This is going to be – I think that this could go down as one of the biggest fights in middleweight history. And you're talking the fights with Izzy and Whitaker. You're talking Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen 1 and 2. This fight could rank among one of the best middleweight fights of all time. But obviously, we got to transition to the fight, to me, that was the most highlighted performance of the night. Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski. I mean, what more can you ask for from a champ? This is one of those fights where, even though they went the distance, it was a ton of fun. I mean,
it was clear, and it was clear. It's
clear. There was no stone unturned. 50-45 across the board, and you just don't see that happen to Max Holloway. You just don't see somebody go out and do that to one of the best featherweights of all time. And one thing that Volk said, and I feel for the guy, is everybody was booing him. Like, not during the fight, but just like the walkout when he got the belt. And it's like, what the heck else does this guy have to do? And it's like, I don't think it's the fact that these last 2 fights, these last 3 fights, he's fought very much fan-friendly fighters, fan favorites. Brian Ortega. All the ladies back home love Brian Ortega. Like, oh my God, the girls are going nuts. They're probably the only ones booing Alexander Volkanovski during that fight.
Yeah.
And then you go to Chang Sung Jung, who's every hardcore MMA's favorite fighter. I have a Korean Zombie shirt hanging in my closet, for Christ's sakes. That speaks how fan favorite he is. And then you go into Max Holloway, wherever Max Holloway fights, it's like he always calls it like it's the 9th island. He always, wherever he goes, whether it's Canada, whether it's Vegas, and that gets the crowd behind him. I just feel for Alexander Volkanovski because he's putting on such exciting fights, these master classes. I mean, it's what more can you ask for from a champion? He's like, I don't want to fight in the U.S. anymore. I'm going back down under. I'm tired of dealing with these unruly fans. I'm putting on the best fights at 145 pounds. What more do I got to do to get the fans behind me?
Hey, I support you, champ. I also want to go back to Australia and or New Zealand and not have to fight. I want to watch you. I want to watch you with the crowd going nuts because, man, you're one of the greatest at 145 to ever do it, my man. I mean, that guy is freaking good, dude. His speed, his timing, He can do everything. His cardio is on point. And now with that chapter kind of put aside, what's next? And that's what the big talk was after the fight with him. Does he move up to 155? Who does he fight next at 145? Do we throw Josh Emmett in there? Does he get a shot? Do we have other contenders who are fighting first to see how that plays out? I mean, I don't know. I think you give anybody to Alexander Volkanovski right now, and he's going to make a run for it, whether it be 155, 145. It doesn't matter. The guy is phenomenal, and I would like to see him get a home game like that. I think he's earned that. My God, I mean, he's had to fight Max Holloway 3 different times. He won the first 2, even though the first one, in my opinion, was not controversial at all. He won that fight
at all. He beat him.
The second one was very close. A lot of people had Max edging that out. Now, to me, it just doesn't matter. I mean, after that clean of a performance, and let's give credit to Max too, because that was one of the worst cuts in one of the worst possible places you can have a cut, an angled cut down your eyebrow, and it was talking to people.
Yeah, I think it was moving.
It had its own thing going on.
Yeah, he had like just like a canoe going like against the grain of his eyebrow. Yeah, here's the problem.
He said it was like the ovarium lip on somebody's forehead. Yeah, it was.
This is the problem that Alexander Volkanovski is facing right now. Is he's a guy, he said in the post-fight speech, "I want to contend for the lightweight belt." Charlie Olives is in the crowd. I'm sure you noticed when you're back home, Paul. I'm sure you noticed anywhere Charles Oliveira's anytime he bears presence. And, I don't even have to say why. But the problem with Alex is he wants to be a really active champion. And right now, you fighting for the lightweight belt, it doesn't make sense for him. And I'll tell you why. Because we know the UFC is going back to Abu Dhabi. And we know that they want a title fight. They want a Khamzat Chimaev on that card. They want an Islam Makhachev on that card. And there's nobody. It makes no sense to have Islam fight anybody else besides Charles Oliveira at this point. And I think that Charles is willing to go to Abu Dhabi and face Islam, but he's also now we're getting into muddy water because now he's saying, well, I'm only fighting Islam. If I beat him, then Khabib has to come back and fight me. But now I might want to fight Conor. It's like, so what do you do with Volk? I think you just throw Josh Emmett in the mix because I just think that there's too much going on at lightweight right now for him to assert himself in the mix unless he wants to sit and wait. And I just don't see Alex as a guy that wants to wait and see how things unfold and maybe fight at the end of the year. He's an active champion. He prides himself in that. And that's something that we should all honor as fans because we don't see that as much. But I just think that you got to feed him somebody, Yeah. And look, Emmett brings a new flavor to the table. He's never, when you look at the guys that look at the guys that Alex has fought during his title run, it's all been tall guys. He hasn't fought a short power puncher in a long time since Chad Mendes and Jose Aldo. Let's throw Josh Emmett in the mix. Throw him a bone. He's on a 5-fight win streak. I'm here for it. I'd watch. Yeah. I'd tune in. I think it'd be a great fight. And guess what? There's your fight in Australia, dude. Like, you'd send Josh Emmett. If you want to fight the champ, you got to go down under to do it. Here. Let's give Volk a main event right in his backyard.
I agree. I'm down. I'll be there.
I'll be a guest fighter. I'll work the desk. I'll do something.
Yeah,
we'll
get you there, Michael.
I'll find my way down there.
But yeah, we got to move on because we got the eye poke, the controversy, O'Malley and Pedro Munoz, and I think a lot of people were maybe doubting Pedro in this situation and saying, "Oh, he was looking for a way out." If you go back and you watch all that stuff and you talk to anybody at the UFC, I know Reed Harris tweeted out that he had seen him after being back from the hospital and the eye was still really bothering him. It was hard to see in the replay. I just saw it again. That finger went straight into that eye and like slid across it. So it was legit. And listen, do I think that Sean tried to do that? Hell no. I don't. These things happen. And it just sucks, right? Because this is a kid that this is his chance to really prove everybody, listen, this guy's a top contender. Munoz is one of the toughest dudes in the game. And then it ends with an eye poke. So it's unfortunate, but it's more bad circumstances for somebody like O'Malley who's trying to still get that credibility.
Yeah, not to mention he doesn't get to move up the rankings. It's just dead in the water.
Yeah.
I don't think Sean did that intentionally, but it does boil down to something the referees tell us all the time in the back. You got to control your weapons.
Yeah.
And Sean,
Yeah, of course.
we could get into the eye poke, we could start treading that water right now and we'd be swimming for a long time. At the end of the day, you do have to control your weapons. Just make a fist, get the palm up. It's hard when you're a tall guy. Sean likes to grab the wrists and poke a lot, and sometimes your hand gets caught open in the wrong moment. And I do. And Pedro's so tough. This isn't a guy he's never been finished inside the octagon. Look, if Pedro Munoz what would be the point of him trying to find his way out? Because guess what? He doesn't get his win bonus. It's like you don't benefit anything from trying to find your way out of a fight, especially in this type of situation. It's like the fans need to look at the big picture. This isn't a guy that's notorious for quitting. This isn't a guy that's ever been finished in the octagon. Or this is a guy that's never been finished in the octagon. This is also a situation where he doesn't benefit in a monetary aspect if he finds his way out. So these things just happen with these fingerless 4-ounce gloves. The crummy thing is, I don't think they go back and do this fight again. It's much kind of, granted, Bilal and Leon were really, like far apart in the rankings at the time. It's like a fight stop from an eye poke doesn't really warrant a rematch. And I'm sure Munoz would like to go out there and get that fight again because to me, he won the first round. I mean, he's the only guy kind of getting his offense going. Sean looked like he was picking it up in the second. But nonetheless, I mean, it's just an unfortunate way for Sean's big moment and Pedro's big moment, I guess, in the same respect. Like both of their big moments just foiled by one accidental foul.
Yeah, it's MMA, right?
Yeah,
we gotta have our hands out and fingers in use and eye pokes. And like you said, some guys just have a tendency to reach out. It's something I don't quite understand because I never fought like that. I don't think I ever poked anybody in the eye in 23 professional fights.
My only time I did it was against Sean, and that's because I was trying to grab his wrist because he's like 5'6". So I was like, but one thing I say this all the time. I think the guys that poke people that are more prone for poking people in the eyes are the people that train primarily in boxing gloves. Because when you have a boxing glove on, your fingers are covered, and if a guy's crashing in, you can just stick your hand in their face, and there's no consequence from it. But when you train in MMA sparring gloves where they're open and your fingers are exposed, you learn quickly that you can't have utilizing that long guard defense is not just a case of being able to stick your hands out. You really have to control your fingers. You really have to learn how to use your long guard, either keeping a fist made or keeping your fingers pointed to the ceiling light. So, that's always been my opinion, or my kind of like where my curiosity is do these guys that have these incidences with eye pokes, do they train sparring? Do they do their sparring in MMA sparring gloves, or do they only use boxing gloves?
They should just wear no gloves. Guys, training
no gloves. Like Perry style.
We got to talk Cowboy. Donald Cerrone, Jim Miller, rematch. They fought back. Oh, my God. 2016, 20-something in Atlantic City, and he head kick knocked him out back in the day. And this is a rematch. Obviously, Jim gets a submission victory in this one. Donald Cerrone, an old friend, a guy who really took me under his wing, brought me into his house when I was a young fighter. I lived on that ranch for many, many months. And I got to learn from who I thought was one of the biggest badasses in the world at the time and still is. And he's hanging him up, man. And I couldn't be happier for him because I don't want to say it's time because I don't think he's still got something, but obviously his passions lie somewhere else. He wants to be doing the racing stuff that he's doing with the cars. He wants to be making movies. He wants to be doing stunt stuff. He wants to be doing a million other things. He's got a family now. He's got kids. So happy that he's not trying to chase that 50 fights or whatever it is in the organization. At what cost? At what cost do you chase that? Do you want to keep taking L's to get to that? Or do you want to say, all right, enough is enough. I went out against another legend in Jim Miller. It didn't go my way. I had a training camp for it. These things didn't work out. Then you take a short notice one, and I'm glad that he's done. He was I mean, he was one of my favorite fighters before I ever met him, man. The dude was an absolute legend.
Yeah, and like you said, Paul, at what price? That price usually comes at an expense that you don't ever really get back, and it's not worth it at that point. And Cowboys, and you've lived at the ranch, you've trained with him, you've been around him a lot more than I have in that type of way. But from the stories I know of Cowboy, this is a guy that he does have a lot of hobbies, and he will still train 3 days, and I'm going to go snowmobile for 2 days, and I'm going to come back and I'll hit the pads, but then I'm going to go race. Like he always is kind of like everything's going on at once. Yeah. And the older you get, the more unrealistic that is in terms of a training camp type of scenario. Yeah, it's your job to be in shape and do what you got to do to get your mental breaks. But like, I just feel like the older you get, the more you have to be dialed in. And I'm learning that myself. I'm learning that as I'm 34 years old. Cowboy's only 5 years ahead of me in age, 4 or 5 years ahead of me in age. I'm learning like, hey, when it's time to train for a fight, I can't have all these other things going on at once. I got to be tuned in. Everything I do has to complement my training. But what a career, dude. I mean, Cowboy's a guy, he fought across, you want to just platforms alone, Spike TV, Fuel TV, ABC, Fox Sports, pay-per-view, ESPN, ESPN Plus, UFC Fight Pass. Like, it just versus channel. Like, this guy has fought, he's seen so many eyes have got to watch this guy compete, and he paved the way for a lot of us fighters. For me, what Cowboy Cerrone means to me is he's the guy that taught me how to like live life to the fullest. Like, as a fighter, you feel like you get here and you have to put yourself in a box. Yeah. And he was the first guy that's like, dude, if you like to ride bulls, go ride bulls and be a fighter. And I'm saying that on the tail end of this speech I just said about having to control your life and really adjust and dial things back when you get into training camp. But on the other side of it, it's like, you got to live your life the way you want to live it. Do everything that you love, live it to the maximum potential, leave no stone unturned. He's a guy that, like, it's that live a life worth living quote that he always says that has always resonated with me, Paul. And,
yes.
I got to ask you, like, what does Cowboy Cerrone mean to you? Because this is a guy, like you said, one of your favorite fighters, a guy that you followed, how much you like this guy, probably had an influence on you going down to train with him. What does Cowboy Cerrone mean to you?
Well, I think it's just pretty apparent in my fighting style and how I chose to fight, and taking fights on short notice and stepping up and bringing the fight to everybody is definitely something that I firsthand learned from him. The way I trained when I was in the room, how I handled training partners, flying guys in, learning to really spend on yourself so that you can succeed. He always had people around him. He was always seeking new training partners and people that could push him. He never shied away from anybody in the room or in the cage. And I would say that's the biggest takeaway that I got from being around Cowboy for so long. So, Cowboy, a tip of the hat to you.
I wish I had a Budweiser here right now. We should have thought about this.
Yeah, a Modelo, Michael.
Yeah, I actually have a fridge full of Modelos right in front of me. I'm not gonna lie, they're a little warm, but the fridge isn't plugged in.
Mash a couple together.
Yeah, it's a Bud Light refrigerator with Modelos, and it's just not plugged in, so they're piss warm.
Sorry. I don't want. But anyway, we got to move on to. We're gonna do some rapid fire questions here.
Yeah,
Ricky is gonna pop them up on the screen. So, rapid fire: RDA or Fiziev? I'm gonna go RDA.
I am going to go Fiziev. I think Fiziev's the guy. Big moment, big opportunity for him. Big opportunity for him to see if he can get to the top of the heap and fight the Mateusz Gamrots and Justin Gaethjes of the world. So, yeah, I'm going Fiziev.
Yeah. Volkanovski or Emmett?
Volk. I mean, how do you pick against the guy at this point? I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. Let's go
Volkanovski.
Volk.
Izzy or Pereira?
That's not as rapid fire as Michael Ricci would probably like. I can't think that fast. There's so much to it. You know who I'm going with. You know who I'm going with. I'm taking the champ, baby.
I'm going Izzy as well.
I'm going Izzy.
Pereira or Chimaev? Chimaev, I go with.
I think I take Chimaev because of the wrestling. Yeah, I like
Hell
that.
yeah, he's gonna drown you. He
Oh
wants that
yeah.
fight because he knows exactly what he wants to do in that
Oh
fight.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Bring a life vest.
Yeah. Oh,
Rapid fire, air travel, window or aisle? I'm aisle all
I
day.
I'm aisle because if I want to get up and pee, I don't
I
want to
pee
have to
all the
wake up.
time too.
I don't want to
Yes.
wake up the person next to me, like, and have
Yes.
to like climb over him. So
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
an
aisle.
aisle.
I'm easily aisle. Airplane parks at gate, stand up right away or stay seated, laugh at people standing. I stay seated for a second because it agitates the hell out of me. Unless I'm in the front row of first class, I'm going to take a second because I hate that guy that gets up like immediately.
Oh yeah. I think that there should be a rule. I think that like they should there should be a light above your seat. Like when your light comes
Time to
on,
go.
you and
Yeah.
the party may stand up. Yeah,
Yeah.
sit down. And I don't even laugh at the people when I'm sitting. I'm usually just like, look at these idiots.
Oh,
Look,
me
what the
too.
hell are
There's
they
no
doing? What the
laughing.
hell are they doing?
I'm
Jamming,
mad. Yeah.
jamming this up.
Thanks,
this
guy. You
this
really
is-
got to the front faster than everybody
yeah,
else.
it would be faster if you just sit down and shut up.
Yeah. Air travel, number 2, forbidden?
Nothing's off limits. Nothing. If I am in the air and I got to take a dump, I'm freaking doing it. And you know what? I don't care. I'll just bring my phone with me or like my Nintendo Switch and just take a little extra time waiting for my poop particles. Maybe do a couple extra flushes. Hopefully, hoping my stench.
You got to just wash your hands a whole bunch and let the smell of the soap aerate around. You got to sprinkle some soap.
You just fucking. You're
I
just freaking throwing soap all over the place.
I try to say forbidden unless it's like an 18-hour flight and you're just it's overnight and most people are sleeping. That's the time to sneak off for the number 2.
My thing is, Paul, like I don't really like if I gotta go, I gotta go. I'm not a guy that waits till I gotta get home. If I gotta go take a dump at Target, I'm taking a dump at Target.
At Target, of course.
Yeah. If I'm on if I'm on a plane, whatever, I'm going for it.
All right. Coffee, hot or cold? Hot all day. I will drink iced coffee, but I definitely prefer hot coffee.
In the morning, it's always hot coffee. Hot coffee always in the mornings. Throughout the day, it's always iced, even in the winter.
Beer, bottle, can, or draft? I'm team draft.
I'm a draft guy. I like a nice draft.
I like a pint of beer.
Yeah, absolutely. They're way easier to drink them. You can drink them faster in a glass than you can in a can or a bottle.
Yeah, if I can, I choose draft. Yeah, sandwich, turkey or roast beef. I like turkey over roast beef.
I like roast beef. If I first choice at the store, it's roast beef. Yeah, I like roast beef.
There you go. Sandwich, mayo or mustard. This depends.
This depends on the sandwich. This is a loaded question.
Loaded question. Ricci, there's too many things going on there. But
roast beef, it's mustard. Mayo, if it's turkey. Yeah.
And here's the thing: if it's a sandwich where I'm going to put a little accoutrement of like lettuce, tomato, and things like that, I want mayo. If I'm just having turkey and cheese on some bread, mustard.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, ooh.
Sandwich, tuna or chicken salad?
Tuna.
I like them both, but chicken salad.
I'm a tuna guy. Are you like Brock Lesnar? Turn chicken into chicken salad.
I like them both. Meatball or chicken parm? I'm chicken parm.
I probably go. I eat meatball subs more often than I eat chicken parm. But if I had them both in front of me, I'd probably try the chicken parm. I'd probably go chicken.
Yeah, I like chicken parm sandwiches.
Yeah, they're good. Oh, Paul, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Would you rather? This is a tough one. I'm incorporating your Ironman career with your fighting career.
Okay.
Would you rather be running a race and as you're running have to grab a foot long of your favorite sandwich with double meat and have to eat it as you are running the race? Or would you rather, in between rounds of a fight, have to drink a 32-ounce milkshake that's your favorite flavor and then go out for the next round, Paul? The sandwich or the milkshake?
Oh my God. I think that there's no way I'm drinking that much milkshake and then fighting a round of a fight and winning the fight. So I'm gonna veto that, and I'm gonna say I'm running with that sandwich, baby. I don't know how I'm doing it, but you just gotta slow the pace down. You gotta slow the pace down, eat real fast, and then pick up the pace.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get kicked in the gut by somebody after drinking.
No, not after a
milkshake.
big old milkshake. Mm-mm.
What if it was in reverse? What if you could drink the milkshake while you were running or eat the sandwich in between rounds?
I would consider eating the sandwich, but I would still choose the shake because I could definitely drink something while running. I do it all the time in races, but I have one for you, Michael. I have one for you. Would you rather eat a bowl of oatmeal, an overnight bowl of oats out of Derek Lewis's used cup, or drink and share a drink of urine with Lyoto Machida first thing in the morning? So share it.
Well, the question is it?
No, it's Lyoto Machida's urine.
Oh shit!
He's sharing it with you.
Oh my gosh, man!
Or you can eat a bowl of overnight oats out of the fight-worn 5-round decision cup of Derek Lewis.
Man,
and every drop of that oatmeal too.
I'm gonna get
straight
so
to the
much.
bottom.
I get so much flack for this.
They're
gonna call me R. Kelly because I'm gonna say I'm taking the pee. I mean, for me, honestly, it just, when you think about Derek Lewis's sweat, like, the guy doesn't have a good diet. It's like Popeye's chicken. It's like a bunch of nasty stuff mixed in with your overnight oats, and those are bland, and bland oatmeal does not taste well. So it's gonna really accentuate. Like, you want to talk about the cream rising to the top, you're talking Derek Lewis's ball sweat rising to the top of this oatmeal. So for me, I think I'd take a swig of Machida's pee. I might have drank worse things in my life, who knows. And he's probably got a cleaner diet, so I don't know, dude.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say that he's probably a little bit on the cleaner side. I mean, he's much lighter, lighter,
a little better.
Anyway, on that note, that's our roundup. Next week is Fiziev and
Rafael. Yep,
check it out this weekend. Sorry, I'm all thrown off with the 4th of July. The 4th of July holiday has got me all thrown off, guys. It's been great. We'll see you in a bunch of weeks, right, Richie?
2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, 3 weeks probably. Right before Pena fights Amanda Nunes. Let's go.
Woo! Michael will be hyped for that one. Guys, remember, send us your fan questions, hashtag UFC Roundup, whatever you want them to be about. It doesn't matter. Get at us. Share this show. Tune in. We're trying to push this UFC Roundup with me and Michael Chiesa. Peace.